Welcome. I'm happy you're here. This show is meant for everyone, whether you are a newcomer to my films and works, a seasoned viewer, a rising filmmaker, or an experienced filmmaker, and everything in between and outside of all of that. You can check out more of my films and my work at limitlessfilms.com. Hey, it's Barry. I am conducting my first day of location scouting for what will be my first feature-length film that I'm actually making. I thought this would be really helpful to let you in a little bit on how things are going in my process, especially if you've never done this kind of thing before. I thought you might really dig this. So location scouting is really important. So the script is already written. And I need to do a little bit more of a script breakdown to figure out everything I need, but I know that locations will be very important for this film. The good news is this film only needs a handful of locations in general, and most of them are locations that I already generally have access to. Maybe one or two that I need to find a way to make them work. But there's one location in particular that is going to take some effort to make work. And the whole script is pretty dependent on this happening. Should it not work out, I got to figure something else out, which I will. But right now I want to go forward trying to figure out a way where I don't really need to change the script too much. I just got to figure out a location that's going to work for us. I only have minutes to do this because I have a lot of other stuff going on, but I wanted to make some time for it nonetheless. I still want to keep secret what the location calls for and where I am doing my location scouting, but nonetheless I thought I'd tell you a little bit about it. So I am somewhere, it might look kind of remote, which is good for the movie, but in reality, it's actually not that remote. So if you've never done a location scouting report before, one thing I would do if I were you is try to find at least one location to go and see if it's going to work for you. And seriously, just create a Venn diagram with pros and cons and kind of in-betweens or neithers of that location. And then try to get just one nice wide or establishing photograph of that location so we have an idea of what it would look like. Also so that we can remember which location this is. So in this case, some of the stuff I need from the location is it needs to generally look remote. It needs to be a very, very big location. There are some establishing and wide shots that are critical that you see this location in its entirety. Doesn't mean we can't find some other creative ways to capture, the essence of it and what we need from it. But nonetheless, if we can get establishing and wide shots of a location like the one we need in the script, that'd be awesome if that can work out. We need to be able to use it both in the daytime and then maybe a little bit at night. And I'm telling you right now, being able to use it at night, I can already tell it's probably going to be a big challenge, but we're going to see if we can make something work. We might have to get creative with some of it. We might even have to find other locations to substitute for this location, but we're going to see what we can work out. So for this location I'm looking at today, it definitely is what the script calls for. It looks great. It's very, very big, and that's kind of what I need. It sure looks remote. There are probably ways in which I can talk with the folks in charge to see if we can use the location in the way that we need to. Some of the cons are that, for one thing, we're probably going to have to get a permit to film here, and those have gotten, at least in my experience, those have gotten a little bit more expensive in the last couple of years. But it's something that, sometimes you just have to do it. Another pro is that we are not that far away from actually anything. Whenever I'm doing location scouting, and I'd recommend this for you too, I try to note how far away is the nearest hospital. Goodness forbid you ever actually need to use that when you're making your film. But if you're in a situation where you do, I think you'll be very happy that you figured that out. In this case, we're very fortunate. The nearest hospital is only about 3 miles away from here. What I also recommend is trying to figure out, I'm serious, where are the nearest restrooms? In this case, this location actually looks like we have a few restrooms that they would probably allow us to use. What about food? In this case, I think we're just, again, maybe 3 miles away from anywhere that we would need food. We would probably have to bring some of our own food and water and what have you. But again, we're not that far from anything like that. What I also try to note are things like the weather. Today in particular, it's about 79, 80 degrees. It's kind of hot. It's a little cloudy today. I'll have to be checking what I sometimes like to use, a farmer's almanac to see what the predicted weather will be like when we actually film. I'm trying to get the shots at this location this summer, so just over the next couple months. If possible, I always recommend try to revisit the location more than once if you can, so you can see what it's like on different days and at different times, particularly if those are days and times that you actually will be filming at. Today when I came here, I spent, I could only do this for a few minutes, but I came here, I tried to scout out what I needed to. Everything looked great. It didn't look like there were going to be any problems. There was a plane that flew over at one point, but I don't think that'll be so bad to work with. The location needs to be pretty quiet, at least quiet from man-made things. This location, it sure looks remote, but in reality, there's actually a major road nearby. There are parking lots and people. And something I discovered for myself, I didn't even know this, was when I was kind of in the middle of my location scouting report, a train went by. I didn't even know we were anywhere near a train and railroads, and sure enough, there's one right by this location. So we have to bear that in mind, and we have to navigate that. But I don't think that makes this location impossible to work with, especially the way in which we need it and the way we will likely be using it if this all works out. I also like to try to take note, just in case you need to charge something, batteries or a computer or something like that, where's the nearest power? Where's the nearest power outlets? I believe there's a few here that we would be able to use if we were in a pinch. But if you're in a location where you want to be bringing, big, pretty heavy wattage studio lights, I would make sure the location is aware of that, especially if you're going to be using a whole lot of their power. Locations really would like to know that kind of thing. In this case, I don't know if we would have to deal with anything quite like that. Some of the cons are we are near a major road. Apparently, we're not that far from train tracks, both of which, could mess up a shot right where in the middle of it. So we'd have to find a way to navigate that. Other cons, like I said, we probably are going to have to pay a permit to film here, and maybe use some of their stuff that we might need, which won't cost nothing. I mean, that's the thing, is that might need to be something we bear in mind. Some of the in-betweens is that this is an exterior location, so things like the weather, even in some cases light, I don't necessarily have total control over. However, a decent amount of this will actually be filmed at night, in which case, dealing with sunlight and clouds and everything like that might not even end up being an issue. Okay, but that should at least get us started with what it's like doing a location scouting report. I thought you'd find that helpful, especially if you've never done this kind of thing before and you want to know what it takes making a film like this and doing location scouting. And I hope you found it interesting. All right, everyone, I gotta go, but bye for now. I'm making a movie!